Hey everybody, so I know I'm between you and the coffee break, so I'll get this started quickly. Hi, I'm Ben. I run a site called bgp.tools. I'll get onto, if you don't know what that is, I'll get onto it later. However, today I'm talking about route servers. So route servers, pretty simple thing. So they attempt to solve the problem if you're on an internet exchange of if you join an exchange and there's, let's say, 200, 300 members on it, that kind of sucks because you don't want to send 200 and 300 emails. People are probably not going to reply to you. People are busy. It sucks because you don't get the full benefit of the IX, or at least not immediately. You have this startup cost. Route servers solve this by you effectively peer with them and they distribute you to everybody else who is connected to this. This is great because everybody is still on the same subnet, the same layer 2. The BGP next hops are not altered, which means that these route servers can be on like 100 megabits of capacity because they're just shuffling BGP messages around. This is great, and yeah, it's pretty good. The advantages obviously is, there's other advantages as well. So despite what people say at conferences and at BF and things like that, your average internet exchange peer does not have good configuration. They are not filtering. They do not have even basic ingress policy. And in fact, your average route server session is far more secure than you directly bilat peering with them. Even if you have good configuration, the other side may not. So if you make a mistake, there's a good chance they're going to accept it. A while ago, I was doing some research on Class E space, and a person who I was working with also just announced a huge chunk of Class E space to a bunch of their peers on internet exchanges, and a bunch of them accepted it. This was like completely invalid IP space, and boom, instantly, like good chunks of countries could suddenly reach this space. Cool. This should never happen, and yet here we are. So in reality, route servers are far safer. You could live a much more happier life, a much more secure life, certainly in routing security, if you joined an exchange, never answered anyone's emails, and just peered with route servers. However, there's limits, of course, to how useful this can be. Route servers do have magic config. You can try and you can yourself try and filter a route server. As Doug was saying earlier, though, there are some AS sets that are a bit silly. So if you wanted to try and filter DKIX, for example, in Frankfurt, you end up with an AS set that is bigger than the internet. This is obviously stupid. You should at that point just write, accept 000/0. And call it a day, because there is no point generating, 2.1 million lines of v4 prefixes? Not worth it, stupid. So you really do have to put your faith in the route server doing this job correctly. Disadvantages of the route servers, however, is that obviously some networks import or export to the route server. Some networks just import from the route servers, but don't send stuff to them. There are some good reasons to do this. Mostly around policy and control. Some exchanges, like for example links, DKIX, etc., AMSIX, they are local, but they also contain a bunch of very far away networks from where they're operating, right? So like in Frankfurt, there's networks from Indonesia there. You might not want to send those routes to them because you'd get funky routing out of that. And so a lot of people make the decision to not send stuff to the route servers for that reason. Others, of course, will send their routes, but for some reason they don't import anything from it. Which is super annoying. This is an example, a screenshot from bgp.tools. If you don't know what bgp.tools is, it's a general information routing information website. Runs its own BGP collector, which you should definitely, if you're not feeding, should feed. Come and talk to me afterwards if you want more information on that. Has a very large internet exchange presence for route collection mostly, but also it does a bunch of research out of that. And for paid services offers network monitoring and stuff like that. I won't get too much into that. But talk to me in person if you're interested. So this is a screenshot from the EdgeIX Sydney. So you can see the ticks mean that the host is known to, so the router is known to be online. And the RS means that it's online and talking to the root servers. It's sending stuff to the root servers. So here, we know they're sending routes. However, these people are not. Dropbox isn't. Now, in theory, though, they may be importing routes from the route server. And also, these people may not be importing routes from the route server. They may only just be sending. So how good are route servers for outbound heavy networks? Let's say you're a content provider, or a heavy content outbound network. Well, a full table at the time of writing is about 9.8 million, sorry, not my way, a million, sorry. Just under 1 million routes on v4. Getting really close to 1 million. It's going to be really fun when that happens. But yeah, right now we're about nearly 1 million routes on v4. And this is a pretty simple operation. You just go and grab all of the Internet Exchange route servers and merge them into merge them into one table and see how big that table is. The answer for that is it's about half of the internet, 56% and 60% on v6. So if you had the entire presence of 113 Internet Exchanges, you can get to about half of the internet. However, you get a pretty serious diminishing return on this. So this is ordered by, so the orange is the cumulative gain by joining each exchange, while the blue is just the actual size of the route server. So here you can see the first one obviously gives you the bulk of the routes, so that's DKIX Frankfurt. However, if you then add the Italian DKIX exchange, while that thing is quite big, there's not many new unique routes, and just straight away the long tail just eats away at all your gains. Now obviously, there's some caveats to this point, right? So one, I am limited to what exchanges I am on. First of all, you're also not going to build a network like this, or at least you're probably not going to go and build a network like this to offload traffic. You'd probably just buy more transit instead. Also, I'm missing some exchanges. I'm not on the New South Wales IX and stuff, and Equinix, etc. Also, just because 60% of your prefixes are gone from the IX does not mean that that's 60% of your traffic. As far as I can tell, from most of the eyeball networks I've witnessed from their flows, about over 50% of all their traffic is concentrated in like 5 ASNs. Sometimes even more, depending on what the customer base is like. Also, this doesn't account for edge cases like people pushing more specifics into route servers, which is super common in places like Brazil. Full list of exchanges. You'll probably be able to find these slides elsewhere, so I'll skip through this. So we've done the first bit of interesting bit, which is if you're a content-heavy network, we can see that route servers are kind of worth it. You get 50% or more of the table. However, the really difficult part is the other direction. If you're an eyeball network, how much traffic can you attract by just simply joining route servers? Well, this is a bit difficult. So BGP has no feedback signal, sort of infamously, for yes, I accepted this prefix and I'm going to go and use it. So you're going to need to do a little more interesting ways to see if they've accepted a prefix. The solution I came to for this was basically finding a data plane solution, basically seeing if something comes back, packets move or whatnot, rather than looking at the control plane, which is your BGP prefixes and stuff like that. So the actual strategy I've gone for is I announce a prefix to all route servers. From somewhere else, I effectively spoof a bunch of ICMP scans, and I see what comes back onto each IX port. Pretty simple stuff. There's two things here. So one involves the BGP collecting network. I already have a bunch of this stuff here, just because I'm collecting a bunch of BGP sessions. The way this mostly works is there's these satellite machines, which effectively run glorified TCP proxies back to the bgp.tools London HQ, which is where everything runs. But a lot of this also is collecting sort of bad packets. Bad packets being like, I don't know, people sending LDP into internet exchanges, which you shouldn't do, and is normally against the rules, but no one's really paying attention to this, I find. And so bgp.tools calls it out. It'll put a little warning tick on your network to say that you're sending naughty packets out. So this was pretty easy to hack in. You just wrote in a new thing that said, hey, if you get ICMP messages for this thing, feed them back into HQ. Second, I borrowed an IP prefix from Jeff Houston, APNIC. I don't know if he's here, but huge thanks for that. Hey, there you are. So huge thanks. IP resources are really hard to find, and having a friendly set of people who are allowed to let you borrow their stuff is super useful. Second problem, of course, is clicker stop working. Okay. Second problem is to speed things up. I only ping one IP address per /24 because anything else is kind of a waste of time. There's a small caveat to that, but ask me in questions if you're interested in that caveat. But bgp.tools also automatically or already knows where all these IP addresses are because it maintains an IP map updated at least once a month. So map.bgp.tools if you're interested in looking what the modern day internet looks like in terms of, modern day v4 internet looks like. The v6 one would be mostly black. So The final caveat, all internet research is just full of caveats. If you want to do honest research, that is. Obviously, with the world of CGNAT coming into play, you get these /24 blocks that just have nothing in them that respond to pings because they are some CGNAT box which is not interested in responding to pings because it maps to 16 or 32 end customers. There is no way to test these. This is super annoying because these are super dense, I don't know, where your average consumer ISP block has, each ISP consumer is 2.5 megabits to 5 megabits per second on average across the year. These blocks are way more dense and does way more traffic. So the fact that I can't test these really is annoying because these matter these /24s matter more than most other 24s in terms of actual traffic impact. So if you go and do this IP scan across all internet exchanges, you find that about 80%, 88% of them can be tested. That means that I can find an IP address to ping in those prefixes. 11% of them, sorry, they're like CGNAT, they're weird, can't help you. About 14% of prefixes can reach you over the IX's route servers exclusively, which is surprisingly low. Given that this is on v4, you could reach about 50% of people in the other direction, which suggests that people importing prefixes is significantly rarer than exporting, which is interesting. Most of this came in from DKIX Frankfurt and the BBIX exchanges. I suspect this is just routing policy of people preferring certain places. Maybe people got really good deals on DKIX. Who knows? Yeah, if you didn't understand those numbers, that's roughly how it breaks down in a fancy graph. Look at this fancy graph. So, yeah. If you do more localized surveys, for example, if you just pick all of the Oceania exchanges, so MegaIX and EdgeIX, because I don't have the others, then only about 4% of those testable prefixes can reach you. Now, once again, your network may actually only do serious amounts of traffic to 5,000 prefixes. So in which case, this might actually be totally good enough. Looking at internet from an absolute prefixes point of view may not be, unless you're a content network, may not be, if you're an eyeball network, it may actually make no sense to look at it this way. The prefixes matter a lot. Individual prefixes can matter a lot, unless you're a content network, in which case maybe it doesn't. Oh yes, and another caveat, of course, because the internet is full of caveats, you might want to sometimes remove things like Hurricane Electric, who participate on IXs widely, which is great, but have a slightly annoying habit of exporting this to a huge amount of places in the world. So for example, if you send an prefix out on, I don't know, Auckland Exchange, you may not, that'll show up on customers of Hurricane Electric in London, which is not quite the goal of the exercise, the X, yeah. You might not want to do that. So even if you take out Hurricane Electric from the equation, only about 0.51 prefixes can reach you if you send out in the Oceania exchanges, which once again, those 5,000 prefixes may be good enough. Who knows? It all depends on your use case. Yeah, and there's the 5,000 prefixes. That might be it, but it probably isn't enough for you. Out of interest, I go in and picked all of the big European ones. So that's London, Links London, DKIX Frankfurt, and ANZIX. And about 12%, which is the huge bulk of it, basically could be reached over there only. The conclusion and thoughts on this basically is the difference between the three big IXPs and going and using all 113, really not that much. It's like 5,000 routes, which suggests, much like in the importing way, that the long tail is real, and that every single IX you add is, at least for the route server's point of view, is extremely diminishing returns. It seems like many people export to route servers, but not many people import from them. This surprises me. That is, I have always imported, when I've run networks, I've always imported from route servers because they've always been relatively trustworthy and safe. So it surprises me that people don't import from route servers, but maybe there's something I'm missing, maybe there's something I got wrong. And of course, so a lot of this is limited by the fact that I can't test CGNAT prefixes, and CGNAT prefixes are especially juicy because they have a huge multiplier of traffic inside of them. Bonus thoughts. Yeah, so in some of the networks that actually do import, the big networks that do import from route servers surprise me. So China Mobile, if you're on BBIX, will import from route servers, which I thought was surprising. Bharti Airtel also imports from route servers, which I thought was surprising. A lot of these people will peer with you on exchanges, but the fact that they are reasonably large networks and they're just automatically accepting prefixes from route servers, I just found quite surprising. Yeah, nothing more else. Thank you for listening to me ramble on for a bit. Is there any questions? If not, find me in the coffee break.